Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, a genuine one, not a hurried one, and let's talk today about something that is happening to most people most of the time, and that almost no one notices until a significant amount of time has already passed. Imagine someone handed you a recording of the last year of your life. Every conversation, every meal, every morning, every ordinary evening. Now imagine watching it honestly from beginning to end. What would you see? Would you see someone living, genuinely present, actually there for what was happening? Or would you see someone perpetually in transit, always moving toward the next thing, always mentally somewhere other than where the body was? It is a difficult question because busyness feels, from the inside, like the right way to be. It feels responsible. It feels like evidence that you are taking your life seriously, that you are the kind of person who does not waste time, who is always working towards something. The culture actively reinforces this. Busyness has become a form of social currency, something people announce with a mixture of complaint and pride, as though exhaustion proves importance and being overwhelmed confirms that you are doing life correctly. And somewhere inside all that movement, life quietly passes, not dramatically, not in a single noticed loss, but in the small accumulation of moments that went by while attention was pointed elsewhere. The conversation that was half heard, the meal that was eaten while somewhere else in the head, the ordinary evening that passed without ever being fully inhabited. The Taoists looked at the natural world and noticed something consistent. Nothing in it rushes. The sun rises at exactly the pace it rises. The seasons change on their own schedule. Trees grow through patient, continuous, unhurried accumulation of days. Rivers move with what appears to be purpose, and yet without urgency. Extraordinary things are accomplished in the natural world through a quality of steady, faithful, unforced participation in each moment as it arrives, not by cramming more into every available space, not by treating every pause as wasted time. Human beings, by contrast, tend to treat urgency as a virtue, as though the speed of movement through life were a measure of how seriously the life is being taken. A professor visited a Zen master one afternoon, a genuinely accomplished person, well-respected, carrying a full schedule of important work. He explained all of it in some detail, the projects, the responsibilities, the goals still to be reached. The master listened and then asked him a single question. "When will you enjoy your life?" The professor laughed and said, "After I finish all these things." The master said, "Then you may wait a very long time." The professor went quiet, because the master had described something he recognized in himself but had never quite said out loud. The finishing was always just ahead. The enjoyment was always contingent on something that had not yet resolved. And the something that had not yet resolved kept being replaced by a new something. As it always does. Because life is not structured to deliver a point at which everything is finally finished and the real experience of living can properly begin. The Buddhist teaching on this is precise. Much of what gets called living is actually the mind being somewhere other than where the body is. The body is at dinner, but the mind is already in tomorrow's meeting. The body is on a walk, but the mind is replaying an exchange from 3 days ago. The body is present with someone who matters, but the mind is composing something entirely unrelated. This is not a character flaw. It is what the mind does when it is not gently redirected, when the habit of being elsewhere has become so established that presence feels slightly uncomfortable, and the default is always somewhere ahead of or behind the moment. The result is a life that is technically being lived, but not quite being experienced, attended to from a slight distance, processed rather than inhabited. Think about listening to something you genuinely love, a piece of music, a conversation, a story, while simultaneously managing the notifications on your phone. The music plays, the conversation proceeds, but most of it does not actually land, because the available attention is divided and the divided portion receives nothing fully. The same thing happens with years. They pass. The tasks get completed, the responsibilities get met, the schedule gets executed, and at the end of a very busy period, the question of what you actually remember tends to produce not the tasks and the meetings and the deliverables, but the moments, the conversation that went somewhere unexpected, the evening that had no particular agenda, the time something made you laugh harder than you expected. These moments became memorable not because they were scheduled as meaningful, but because, for whatever reason, attention actually arrived for them. There is also a subtler cost to perpetual busyness that deserves naming directly. Busyness generates noise, and noise makes it very difficult to hear yourself. Many people who are extraordinarily competent at managing their external obligations have become, in the process, relative strangers to their own inner life. They know what everyone expects of them, what everyone needs from them, what the schedule requires next, but they have not recently stopped long enough to ask what they themselves actually need, what actually matters to them, what kind of life they are in the process of building with all this motion. Busyness can function as a very effective way of not having to sit with those questions, not intentionally, not as a strategy, but effectively. The noise of constant activity keeps the quieter and more important questions from being heard. The Taoists described the value of emptiness not as the absence of value, but as the condition that makes value possible. The cup is useful because of the hollow space inside it. The room is useful because of the empty space it contains. A day with genuine empty space in it, not scheduled, not optimized, not filled with the next item on the list, allows something to surface that the perpetually occupied day cannot. The mind beginning to reveal what it actually thinks, what it actually wants, what it has been trying to say beneath the noise. Wisdom tends to arrive in the spaces that have been left open. Very little of genuine importance tends to arrive while you are simultaneously managing three things. As we close today, I want to leave you with something simpler than a question. This week, give one thing your genuine, unhurried, undivided attention. Not as a practice, not as a mindfulness exercise to be completed and checked off, but as a genuine act of showing up for your own life. A conversation, a meal, a walk, a morning. Whatever is actually available to you, as it actually is, given your full presence, rather than the portion left over after everything else has taken its share. The life you have been meaning to live is not waiting somewhere in the future. It is happening now, in the ordinary moments that pass quietly while attention is pointed elsewhere. And it would be a genuine loss to miss much more of it. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.